you think it's New York. You think everybody loves gay people. Like, gay people are welcome here. It was beyond demoralizing. It was shocking.
And Just Like That is back on our screens. Blessed be. And Miranda, I mean, it's summer in the city. She's flirty free and she's getting with a nun.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, Sister Act could never, could it? Let's get real. What journey did you personally go on with Miranda this season?
You know, I feel like our show is always the most quintessentially itself when we are back to the high points and the low points of dating.
Yeah.
And Miranda has had merely some of the worst dates of any of the ladies. But, you know, a virginal nun at that was really, an unexpected treat. Especially as played so beautifully by Rosie O'Donnell. So, yeah, but, you know, she's dating. She knows she wants to date women and non-binary people, but she's not sure how to find them or how to get them interested in her or how to identify them when she sees them. So a lot of challenges. Yeah. A lot of challenges.
The struggle is real.
The struggle
for a single girl around town, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Exactly.
What was your reaction when you first got the script and they were like, we're going nuns?
Michael Patrick King comes from a Catholic background, and I feel like whenever he interfaces with his Catholicism, it is always to great comic and sometimes more than comic, sometimes emotional, deep effect. And we've been trying to get Rosie O'Donnell on the show since, we started. He's always been writing parts for her, and it never quite works out. So this one worked out, and, I got the privilege of texting her and being like, we have a part. Would you look at it? Would you consider? And she seemed, even before she read it, she was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
Miranda is one of the most iconic TV characters of all time in one of the most iconic franchises. And you've done so many incredible scenes over that time with that character. Is there one you would love to go back and relive just one more time?
Back and relive. Oh my, no. I feel like the high points, for me, like the high point for me is the fight with Carrie when, Miranda revealed in first season of And Just Like That how miserable she had been for so long. Like, that was a real high point. Do I want to have to play that scene again? I do not. I do not. And some of the more delicious comic ones, it's like, because they work so well, you wouldn't want to mess with them. You wouldn't want to mess with them.
But the lines as well are so iconic.
Yes. I mean, I have to say, that Miranda used to be so snarky and cynical. And I guess I do sometimes miss the cynical one-liner, Miranda with no heart detectable unless it was about her friends and her desire to protect them and be loyal to them.
It must be so special as well to constantly be able to go back to a character over a 30-year period.
It's crazy.
Going through so many life changes yourself as well. How special has it been to almost align Miranda more with your own identity?
Very much so, because, I always loved her, and I always thought, wow, this is a great part. But it was very different than anything I had ever played. I played a lot of, shy people and gentle people and waifs and flower children and that kind of thing. So this sassy, brassy, cynical person was very, and still is very different than me. And I feel like, with all of us, we have certain qualities of these characters, but, as the years have passed, of course, our writers incorporate more of our real personalities and in some cases our life experiences or our interests or our hobbies. And so, we definitely, and I think that's true on any long-running TV series, but particularly the ones that really put things on the line, that don't play it safe, that the more they can engage you and the intersection of who you are and who that character is, so that you really have it's easier to have things at stake when you're playing it.
Is it that helped you process, as playing her in some ways, helped you process things at different times in your life?
No, I think so. I mean, I think there is a kind of a fake it till you make it kind of a thing, which I think is not a bad technique. And I think there were, when I was like 31, when I started playing Miranda, there was a certain aspect of her that was aspirational for me. And I think putting on those figurative clothing, helped me be more stand up for my own opinions and voice my own opinions and fight for my own opinions.
And that's so special because now you started off when you imagine auditioning for that role.
Yes,
I
remember.
In what, like 1998, right? 97?
I think 97 because my oldest kid, who's now 28, going to be 29 later this year, was 8 months old when we shot the pilot.
Can you remember that audition? What was it like going into that room?
I had a million auditions. Oh, my God. It was such a saga. I auditioned over a period of months, and they had me under contract, and then they let the contract lapse, and, they would cast other, And, I mean, it really went on for months, and my agent would check in, and they would say, we haven't found anybody we like better yet, but we're not ready to put, Yeah. And finally, I was about to book another job, and my agent, who is now my manager, she kept at them, all week, and then all day she would call them every hour, and she would say, like, you're going to lose her in 17 hours. You're going to lose her in 14 hours. You're going to, And she just would not give up because she knew... She thought that I was the perfect person for this part, and if they delayed, it wasn't going to be me, and that would be maybe a bummer for them, and certainly it would have been a bummer for me, let me tell you.
I mean, life would have been so different. You would never have imagined you'd be playing this character.
I cannot even imagine my life without this. And also, of course, the main reason was this character, this ensemble, this writing, this everything. But also for me, I had never tried to be on a TV show because they all shot in Los Angeles and I was in New York. And here was like, wow, this is a great one in New York. Like, how could I, I got to do everything I can to be on this one.
It's such an amazing community on screen.
Yes.
And it must be such an incredible community off screen as well. How much has that coming back to that friendship throughout different times in your life really helped you?
I think we're all, like the characters, I think we're all very different people. But I think we have so much love, but also so much respect for each other because, like the characters, we have really different points of view on things. And we know that in the areas where we're maybe weaker, we can go to that. We can go to Kristen, we can go to Sarah, and now we can go to Nicole, and we can go to Sarita and, ask them, ask them their advice, ask them their opinion, which is, I think in the end of the day, friends are like a home, but I think they're also an incredible resource that's not to be squandered.
I love that. That's such a good way of looking at friendship.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we think about friendship in that way enough, about them being a resource.
Yeah. I feel like the people that I choose to try and make my friends are the people who have qualities that I admire and wish I had more of. And that I feel like being in their presence and watching them and learning from them is a way I can build that muscle in myself that I admire so much in them.
Yeah. There's so many great chats that the characters have, that we all have with our friends as well, if we're lucky enough to have those kind of friends in our lives.
Yeah.
And this podcast is all about having great conversations with great, inspiring people. Is there a great chat that you've had in your life that's really stuck with you or taught you something amazing?
Oh, my goodness, yes. Of course, there have been a lot, but the one that immediately comes to mind was one very late night, on Sex and the City, when we were shooting in Miranda's home, which I guess at that time was not a set, was a real building, I guess, in Brooklyn, if I can remember correctly. And Ann Mira was playing my mother-in-law, and I don't remember what scene we were shooting, but we were sitting on the couch, and it was like 3 a.m. And she just turned to me completely out of the blue. And obviously there had been a conversation happening in her head. And I think that what she was going to say to me also probably came out of a lot of conversations with a therapist, And she just turned to me with no preamble and said, wherever you are right now, whatever decisions that you've made, whatever mistakes you feel you've made or whatever things that you wish you could take back, you just have to let that all go. And you just have to pretend that the moment you're in is the absolute first moment of your life. And don't waste any time on second guessing what you did or regrets. Just literally look at the facts of your life and like move forward and make the decisions from here that you want to be making. And it was like, and I mean, I remember that so keenly, and it's such an important, I think, lesson, and I felt at the time, of course, like, here is a person who has lived a lot more than me and has had a lot more experience, and she's saying something that makes sense, but I feel like as I age into this advice, I will understand it in a more and more personal and visceral way.
What an amazing gift of a conversation.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And I have all kinds of friends who I've told this story to, and sometimes in our conversations, they just say, the Ann Mira thing. Like, so we don't even have to, we remember what it is. We know what we're talking about, as a thing to try so hard to remember.
And it's so special that you actually get to share that with my listeners as well, because I feel like even just hearing that myself, that helps so much.
Yes.
Because life is always going to be confusing, isn't it? And actually, if you just sit in that moment, it's such a special thing to do, isn't it?
And I think it has so much to do with not beating yourself up. Do you know? I mean, I know I beat myself up all the time. Do you know what I mean? All the time. And that voice in your head, maybe it was good when you were young and you had to, whip yourself a little bit to like get out of bed and don't be late for school or do your homework or, make sure you brush your, but at a certain point, it's like, why are you beating up on yourself about something that's past? Just move forward.
Yeah. And sit in yourself and be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's an important message, especially. I mean, it's an important message all year round, but it's Pride Month when this episode comes out.
Yes.
And we are all about celebrating our pride in ourselves.
Yes.
When have you been proudest of yourself?
I mean, I was very proud when I became a parent. I was very proud when I not just ran for governor, but when I debated Andrew Cuomo and did well and survived, and I would say semi-triumphed.
You triumphed, just so you know.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
I mean, I was very proud when I was a child actor, and, for the first 10 years of my working life, from 12 to 22, I was in school the whole time, and I was acting, not the whole time, but a lot of the time. And I remember graduating from college and being like, I now have one job, not two. And also, being a child actor, my parents were very, I think, wise and savvy. And they said to me over and over, most child actors don't become adult actors. Just this is for now, enjoy it, put money away for college, But having graduated from college, having run the gauntlet of those two full-time things, and then having a couple of job offers and being like, well, I'm 22. I've graduated from college. I'm still getting jobs. I guess I am now an adult actor.
And that 22-year-old would be so proud of you now.
Yes, I think she'd be amazed. I think she'd be amazed.
Babes, you're an O away from being an EGOT. Let's just take a moment for this. Like, that is huge. Like, it's incredible. Do you ever take a moment to reflect on your success, or is it something or what does success even mean for you now?
Kind of like the characters in our show. It means that you're proud of what you've accomplished, but you're just as excited about the stuff that's to come. Because, it's like the reverse of the Ann Mira thing, right? You shouldn't endlessly second guess, but I don't know anybody worthwhile that sits around and like, remember when I did that? That was so great. What's that going to get you?
Yeah, you're like, do you want to come over and look at my 2 Emmys?
Exactly.
They're here and here.
Sometimes when I think about all the parts that I've played and all the people I've worked with, that kind of does astonish me, because it's like a Marx Brothers elevator jammed with people. But hopefully that all those things that have happened, all those experiences you've had and succeeded at or failed at or whatever, have just prepared you for the next thing that's coming.
Yeah, and that's really good to say that, because I think as well, we look at success and we see it all on the surface. We see the awards, we see the away from being an EGOT, but there's so much hard work and graft that goes on behind the scenes to get to that point. And there are the struggle years as well. Is there a time in your career when, at the time, probably felt quite difficult, that now you look back at it and it made you who you are?
You know, because if you have some talent, it's a lot easier to get work as a child actor than an adult actor, because there are just so many fewer of us doing it. Like the field is rather small. So I've always worked a lot, but I guess there was a time in I would say my mid-20s when I just was in a kind of a limbo. I was working, but I was doing a lot of off-Broadway. I wasn't particularly earning, I was supporting myself definitely, but, I wasn't earning a lot of money compared to what I had. And I think it was like I was in this limbo between being a child and being an adult. And I kind of hadn't transitioned to adult roles. And so I do remember that period as being a little fallow and scary. But one of my favorite sayings, something that I think about, and particularly when I was younger, I thought about it a lot. Laurence Olivier was asked one time, what advice would you give to a young actor? And he said, they said, what is the most important thing a young actor can learn? And Laurence Olivier said, how to become an old actor. And I just think, particularly maybe in the world nowadays, there is so much focus on stardom and big salaries and how many followers do you have and how did your post do, all that kind of like measures of like, am I winning? Am I beating everybody else kind of a thing? But that is really, like, I could think about that for a long time, because of course I want successes. I want to have hills, and I know there will be valleys. But the main thing that I want is longevity, and I want people to still want to hire me, and I want there to be roles that I still want to do that I haven't tried yet. And, if you keep acting all the time, you learn more and more. It's like any kind of a craftsman. It's like being a woodworker or something, or a painter. Like, there are things that you would never get to if you don't keep doing that into your 70s and your 80s and maybe your 90s. And
learn to trust the process, right? Because that is so hard to do, especially in those peaks and valleys, isn't it?
Right. And just know that if you're busy all the time, like, there is it's like when we sleep is when we're young, that's when we're growing, like literally growing our bodies, and when we're leaving our minds kind of fallow and unconscious, that's when we sort of make the progress, not when we're being like called on to achieve, minute by minute, like that, leaving the field fallow is really important if you want a wonderful new crop next year.
You are such an incredible advocate for our community, and you are so inspirational to so many people for that reason. And it's so incredible to see you continuously use your voice. I mean, when you came out in like 2004, that was around the time that I was coming out of school, and I remember that, and I think it's so great to have role models like you in society. But when are you proudest of using your voice and using it to advocate?
It's really nice to try and do something that seems, like a really hard mountain to climb, and getting there. And I feel like all of the effort that my wife and I and our friends and our allies put into getting gay marriage passed in New York, that was because it was so, you think it's New York. You think everybody loves gay people, like gay people are welcome here. And the idea that, it would get put up in front of the New York State legislature and defeated and then defeated again. I mean, it was really sort of, it was beyond demoralizing. It was shocking, particularly when in America, we had gay marriage in a lot of different places, including Iowa. Like, how can we have gay marriage in Iowa and not in New York? And so, we did a lot of advocating. We did a lot of lobbying. I went around to the country and spoke at a lot of places that were also trying to get it. But one of the things that we did was we were part of this very effective PAC called Fight Back PAC, and we targeted state senators who had voted against marriage and were going to vote against it again. And we targeted them not necessarily for their anti-same-sex marriage views. We targeted them on anything that we thought they were vulnerable on. And we got some of them, thrown out of office, and we put the fear of God in a lot more. And it was really a concerted effort. And, it was a great moment. And it was Pride Month, and I had just been speaking at the LGBTQ synagogue and giving a whole speech, and about it and about the efforts. And then we were literally on the subway going home with our friends and all of our kids when the word passed on the platform that it had just passed. And it was so incredible. And everybody in the subway car was celebrating and so excited. We knew it was this historic moment. And it felt like everybody in New York, in the part of New York that my family happened to be in at that moment, was all on the same page. And when I talked to my mother later about how that had all come to us, the information, she said that's what it was like on VE Day.
Wow.
Do you know, when you walked out into the streets and everybody was like, this thing that we have been fighting so hard for, and sacrificing so much for, we've achieved it, and we all are just together in our awe and relief and triumph of this moment.